Hello and welcome back to the channel. Thank you for joining me in another of my wonderful interviews. Today we're going to talk about health. We do talk about health from time to time, and it's very interesting because we are living in a very strange time in which the stuff that we've been told time and time again through mainstream media and advertisements that's supposed to be healthy turns out it's not healthy at all. Now, many people have tried to tell us about this and what we should be doing. And there's an interesting gentleman who has been looking at this with various discoveries from all around the world, Dr. Price. I'm not sure if he's still with us, but I have two wonderful ladies who are going to tell us a little bit about him and about his discoveries. So I'd like to bring to the show, first of all, Fallon Morrel, if I've got that correct, president of the Western A. Price Foundation. Hello, Sally.
Hi, Richard. And thank you for having me on the show, on your wonderful show.
Thank you so much. And also Keli Sadler, who is the leader of the Kent chapter of the Western A. Price Foundation and a nutritional therapist. Hello to you, Keli.
Hi, Richard, and thanks for having me on your show as well.
That's perfectly lovely to have you on. And it's good to do some more of this in-depth health because we have been spoken to by so-called authority many times telling us what is supposed to be healthy. But it does seem that there are vested interests in all of this nonsense they try to flog to us. And the most simple things seem to be those that are overlooked. Now, I don't know if I've put that over in a correct manner, but maybe you could tell us, first of all, a little bit about Dr. Price and his discoveries and how that relates to what you ladies are doing at the Western A. Price Foundation. Who would like to go first?
Well, I'll go first.
Thanks, Sally.
This is why we're so passionate about what we are doing, because the discoveries of Dr. Price and the kind of foods that support good health in our children, in our babies, in adults, are just the opposite of the foods they're telling us to eat.
Right.
We've had 50, 100 years of government promotion of industrial seed oils, um, turning a blind eye to all the sugar people are eating, telling us we shouldn't have salt, high fiber, low fat, low salt diets. These are miserable diets and people can't stay on them. And then that just kind of pushes them into what I call the pornographic foods, the really highly sweetened foods. So we're advocates of butter, and we tell people they should eat some liver and whole milk, whole raw milk, preferably, the kind of foods that our ancestors ate and that conferred health and attractiveness on them.
So what do you think happened? Because if our ancestors were eating this, and I, even in the 60s when I was growing up as a young, very young then, kid, we were having things like butter. And then I remember margarine coming in and various things were sort of being, have something cleaner or better for you, apparently. And yet, the human race has managed to survive for, millennia or whatever,
On butter.
up until recently. And suddenly, oh no, we've got it all wrong up until sort of whenever it was, 100 years ago, as advertising began to push forward these commercial brands.
Well, my late husband grew up in Liverpool, and he was, after the Second World War, every child got cod liver oil, and they made sure that every child got an egg every day, and they were promoting butter, and that was a healthy generation. Those were strong, healthy people, and the health of your nation and my nation has deteriorated since then.
Mm.
Dr. Price was doing his research in the 1930s, 1940s, and this was the time when these huge changes in the diet were taking place. We were substituting vegetable oils for animal fats, we're eating a lot more sugar, avoiding, they started to pasteurize the milk, telling you to drink skim milk. And what he was able to compare what happens in children brought up on these newfangled foods. They had rampant tooth decay and narrow and crowded teeth. As we were talking about earlier, a lot of them were mouth breathers, which is not a good way to be in life. And so our mission really is to get back to these old-fashioned nutrient-dense foods, because who's suffering the most from this? It's our children. One in
Yes.
two children today has something wrong with them.
And it does seem that when you get into this food that's basically got no nutrients, vitamins and minerals and things into it, you're becoming ill, and then you're relying on the pharmaceuticals to try and get you back, and that seems to be a never decreasing circle in which is detrimental to our bodies.
There's no money in sick animals. And for example, formula for calves contains animal fat because calves will not grow properly without animal fat. But there's lots of money in sick people.
Yes.
And that's some pretty evil folks have figured that out and are giving the wrong advice, which the parents are dutifully following, of course. And it's the children who are suffering. So our foundation puts a big emphasis on preconceptual diets for pregnant women, diets for infants and toddlers and growing children, because this is when the body is formed. And you can't come back by the time they get to 20. You might make yourself healthier by switching your diet, but you can't reform your body. So
right. So you're starting right at the beginning.
Before conception, all traditional cultures had special, we call them sacred, nutrient-dense foods that they consumed to get ready for pregnancy. And this is survival knowledge that we're not teaching our young people today.
Dr. Price, you were telling me before we recorded this, just as we were sort of having a chat, went around the world looking at all these different tribes and different people. You astonished me about the fact that many of these people didn't clean their teeth, and yet they had perfectly aligned teeth with no cavities.
No cavities. In fact, the first place he went was Switzerland, and these people lived on raw milk and sourdough bread and a little bit of meat and organ meats, and they had excellent dental health. But he says their teeth were covered with green slime. They didn't brush their teeth. I'm not saying not to brush your teeth, but please don't think that brushing your teeth is going to prevent cavities, because it doesn't.
Right. And of course, these days, some of the toothpastes that people use have unwanted chemicals, which we're told is supposed to really help them, like fluoride, but actually doesn't.
Really opposed fluoride. They were just starting to push it in the late 40s when he was about to retire, and he was not in favor of it. He said all these people had perfect teeth and they were not using fluoride.
So what kind of diet does he recommend? Because on the show, I get various people saying, oh, you should have a carnivore diet or a keto, a paleo-keto diet, or this sort of thing. And so it is very confusing for people who think, what should I have? And they go into a supermarket and then everything in there is basically a big bunch of lies telling them that it's all very healthy and it's got extra vitamins in and all this. And then you realize, actually, this product's been made with wheat that's been fiddled about with. There's no nutrients in the beginning, let alone at the end.
Well, he found that the healthiest people had a mixed diet. In other words, not too heavy on the plant foods, but not too heavy on the animal foods. It was something in between. And I think that's wonderful news, because that's how people like to eat. But the emphasis in our case is on the nutrient density. So first of all, you need to eat some organ meats. And for most of us, that's liver. Now, it's much easier to eat liver in Europe than in America, because you can get liver sausage. You can go into any pub and get liver pate. That's one of the things I love about traveling in Europe. Butter is a nutrient-dense food, especially if it comes from cows that are grazing. Eggs,
grass-fed, presumably.
Grass-fed, and same with the eggs. The chickens should be outside, but eggs are a wonderful food. And they've been demonized for so long because they have cholesterol or something. We recommend egg yolk as the first food for babies, because it's got everything in it that baby needs to grow. We are not against grains, but in traditional cultures, grains were prepared in a slow manner that basically was kind of like a fermentation, like sourdough. And our grains are very toxic today because they're sprayed with Roundup and chemicals. So we just need to get back to the kind of grains we used to eat and prepare them properly, and then people wouldn't have so much problem with them. So we're
Let's
all for vegetables. What are vegetables for? Vegetables, the purpose of vegetables is a vehicle for butter. Your
A
vegetables,
vehicle for butter. Oh, so like on your potatoes, you
yes,
could,
yeah.
put a bit of butter on it,
Yeah,
which is
your
very nice,
carrot,
and a bit of salt.
yeah, and salt. We're all in favor of salt. You cannot grow and be healthy without salt. It's an essential nutrient.
I do remember watching Barbara O'Neill, or is it Barbara Neal? I can't remember now, who was saying, if you have Celtic sea salt, pinch of Celtic sea salt, and clean water, filtered or distilled, because the salt gets that water into the system as opposed to
Yeah,
just being
yeah,
washed through.
otherwise it just goes right through.
Yeah.
So I think what we're advocating is good news for most people. There's no renunciation on our diet. It's not a hard diet. It's very satisfying. We do allow natural sweeteners. We even have healthy soft drinks like kombucha. We allow dairy products. I mean, it's all in our diet. But the difference is that you need to think about where these foods are coming from. You need to patronize your local farmers. You need to make an effort to get raw milk and make sure that the foods are properly prepared.
So let's have a quick chat to Keli now. Hello, Keli.
Hi there.
Hello. You're in Kent. I should have said that I forget where Sally is, somewhere in the States, 5 hours behind us. So presumably on the east side. Are you somewhere, Sally?
Yes.
Yes. So you're in jolly old Kent, the Garden of England, Keli, where I think there is slowly becoming a realization in this country that our diets are not good and not healthy. I mean, we only have to look at the average person to realize that most of us are overweight. And when I say us, I mean, I'm not talking about us here. But a lot of people are overweight. How receptive are people when you tell them about the diet, Keli?
Um, well, I find a lot of people assume that because I'm a nutritional therapist, I would be promoting a vegetarian or a vegan diet. And so, yeah, that when I sort of say, well, actually, animal saturated fat's good for you, organ meat's good for you, they're very surprised. And some people kind of accept it, but a lot of people are like, oh, I've never heard that before. That's very different, because they're constantly getting these messages all the time from the mainstream media. It's better to be,
Yes.
go have more vegetables, and that's where we get all our nutrient density from and things like
And we do see, I mean, we see vegetables being pushed more, green diets or grass. What do they call it? They call it
plant-based.
this plant-based. Yes, we're getting that message all the time, and we know that nefarious people are trying to sort of get rid of animals and proper farming, and we've seen all of that going on. And yet, of course, as you say, animal fats is incredibly important for us.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
And
And there's so much more money to be made on plant foods. These plant-based foods have a much higher profit margin.
yeah, and
Margarine, the profit margin on margarine is much higher than it is on butter.
which is terrible, really, because it's a basically it's poison. Whereas, I mean, I interviewed a chap the other day, a lovely chap from small dairy, raw milk, and I drink raw milk, and I've interviewed Sir Julian Rose, who used to he was
Oh, one of
in
our
the
favorite people.
there you go. In the 70s, I think he was trying to save raw milk dairies from disappearing. Um, and it's interesting. I was going to ask Keli, what's the average age of the people that you see? Because people over 60 must remember some of those diets that we used to have before the margarine and the skimmed milk and the more sort of vegetarian push that came in.
Yes, I see a mixture of people, all ages. And it's surprising, even older people, they still sort of say to, say, what kind of diet would you like to have? Oh, I'm trying to, cut down on meat and especially red meat, have more chicken and fish and vegetables, and they want to incorporate more vegetarian dishes into their diet. Um, yeah, so it's a bit of a struggle sometimes.
Bit of a struggle. So even though you talk to them and you sort of point out the advantages of this, I mean, do they readily accept it?
Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
Yes.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
if you hear a new message once, then sometimes people are like, oh, that's very new. But when they've heard the vegetarian message, we're going to save the economy, save not save the economy, save the planet, by
Mm.
having all this plant food. And they've heard it again and again and again, and then you just say something completely different to that. They're sort of like, oh, where did that come from?
Yeah, exactly. Which is very difficult for you to try and get the message across. But presumably, once they start doing the new diet or this new nutrient dense food, they'll start to see an improvement in their health.
That's it. Yes, massive improvements in their health. And
And it must, things like skin. I'm thinking, and as well as perhaps having more energy and being a bit more sprightly, and presumably sleeping better at night, and all those.
Having more stable blood sugar when you
Right.
make sure you eat some butter with every meal, you don't get the drop in blood sugar. And that makes a huge difference because when your blood sugar is low, you might have allergies, fatigue, gnawing, hunger. And I think one of the most important things is to, get a stable blood sugar all throughout the day. And you can only do that with animal fats. Carbs won't do it. Carbs put you on the
Yes.
sugar roller coaster.
So eat it. You just said then eat butter with every meal. That's
Yes, yes.
that a lot of people will be going, cool, but won't I put on weight? That will be the argument, isn't it?
Well, the animal fats, and there's studies that show this. If you eat a lot of animal fats, you actually don't want sugar.
Right.
Desire to eat sugar goes away. And so many people are struggling with sugar
Mm.
and they can't solve it with willpower. Your body's craving something to raise your dopamine levels, and sugar does that. Well, animal fats do that also. And the thing about animal fats is they support thyroid function, so your metabolism goes up. And most people that we talk to and who get on our diet say that they lose weight.
Yeah. I mean, again, I've heard that. I found when I stopped eating bread, commercial bread, weight just dropped off me.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was a great way to but sourdough is a sort of different from your sort of the normal bread that you buy.
Well, sourdough has been basically fermented, if it's true sourdough. I'll just give you an example. There was a study out of Italy where celiac disease is epidemic in Italy, and they gave people who had been diagnosed with celiac genuine sourdough bread, and they had no problem with it. They could digest it just fine because it's been pre-digested, and grains are hard to digest.
Right.
But if you soak them or sprout them or sour them, as in sourdough, they will be easy to digest because they've been pre-digested. And all traditional cultures who did have grains in their diet did this. We've just
That's,
forgotten about it, or
yes.
the manufacturers. There's something that was developed in England called the Chorley Wood
Yes.
method for bread making, and you could
For
go
that
from
sort of
seed
soft,
to the
squishy.
package in 2 hours, and the bread still got all its toxins and irritants and so forth in it because it hasn't been properly prepared.
Yeah, and it's same I've heard when I was chatting to the chap about the raw milk, that saying, well, there's a lot of people these days who are lactose intolerant, but really what they're have an allergy against is the pasteurized homogenized milk, not the raw milk with bacteria that is doing us good.
Yes, exactly.
And so we have been told so many lies or falsehoods about food. And as you say, we've got to get back to all of that. Now, you've got a presentation coming up, Keli. Can you tell us about where it is and when it is, so people may want to
yes,
come along and
so
find out?
so it's at the Waterloo Action Centre in central London. So it's just a few minutes walk from Waterloo Station. And so we've got the amazing Sally here. She'll be talking on the Zoom link from America.
Fantastic.
Yes, introducing people to all the main ideas behind the principles of the Western Advice diet. And we've also got Dr. Carhill. She's a doctor from South Africa, and she's also a homeopath and a naturopath. And she'll be sharing how we can support our immune system. And so, in these days with lots of medical interventions, I think it's
Mm.
great to know how to support your immune system naturally. Uh, we've got Heather Kasser. She is the Dean of the Institute of Optimum Nutrition, a very prestigious school of nutritional therapy. And she's been a nutritional therapist with 40 years' experience. She'll be talking about becoming a wise woman, optimizing protein and fat intake for powerful aging. Jane Lloyd, she's a pioneer in bioresonance and supporting young people and people with emotional difficulties and stress disorders through the long distance bioresonance treatment. And she's got amazing testimonials on her website.
I introduced a lady, I can't remember her name off the top of my head, about a month or two ago, or just before Christmas last year, who was talking about bioresonance. Absolutely, it's kind of miracle stuff, really, when you understand how it works, or it seems to be how the blood can talk to itself, or the body can talk to itself from just a strand of hair, is what she used. I mean, it's absolutely incredible.
It is, yes, yeah, and it's there's lots of scientific research to show that it works.
Yes,
Like lots of our pharmaceutical drugs, nobody actually knows 100% how it works, but when they do the research, it does work. Um,
yes.
I looked at a study recently showing it's actually more effective than SSRIs, which is what the doctor normally prescribes for depression. They've done a study showing it's more effective than those to treat depression and fibromyalgia. Lots of research on fibromyalgia. So yeah, it does work.
I mean, the thing about what you're describing, and what with nutrient dense foods and using food as medicine, which is sort of what we would have done initially. We traditionally we would not have deliberately poisoned ourselves with food that had no nutritional stuff in it, and yet we've sort of unlearned everything that is natural for humans. And what I was going on to say is, it's everything that you're talking about does not have unusual side effects or detrimental if there's any side effects, it's that you've got more energy and you're more sprightly, your hair grows
Yes.
better, or whatever it is. And yet when you go down the pharmaceutical route, everything has side effects. Well, in my mind, if it's a side effect, whether it's small or big, it's still an effect. And it may not be what you wanted. You may want, I want to get rid of my headache. Oh yeah, you can get rid of your headache, but something else will happen as well. Well, I don't want that, thank you very much.
Yes.
And so there's only benefits, it seems to me, with eating proper food and looking after yourself.
Yeah.
That's it. Yes.
See,
And yes. Sorry, Sally.
most drugs, all drugs, they work by robbing Peter to pay Paul. For
Right.
example, if you're not healing, you take a drug that actually sequesters cholesterol to the healing place, because cholesterol is the healing material in the body. So then you're lacking cholesterol somewhere else. So you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. But when you treat injuries or illness with nutrient dense food, you're paying Paul. You don't have to rob Peter.
Yes.
Paul. Yeah.
And it's funny you say about cholesterol, because that's another thing we've all been told. Oh, we've all got high cholesterol and we've got to get a shot of it.
Yeah. They're making patients out of people who are perfectly healthy.
Yes.
And by the way, the doctors get their bonus based on how many prescriptions they write for the statin drugs. So this is a terrible racket. And believe me, you don't want to lower your cholesterol. You
No,
need
exactly.
cholesterol for so many things. Yes.
And we've seen in recent times, 4 years ago, is it nearly 4 years ago now, that there was a certain outbreak, and then at lightning speed, this untested medical intervention that's supposed to have proved, in which all of these things that are begin with the letter that is the surname of my name, none of these things have actually ever proven to prevent
Right.
the thing that they've supposed to prevent. In fact, they've made more people ill by
Well,
using them.
the growth in heart disease, which is rare disease in 1900, has exactly paralleled the growth in the use of industrial seed oils and has gone the opposite direction of butter consumption. So we know that butter consumption is not causing heart disease. They've gone in the opposite direction.
Right. Yeah, and we've seen huge things in autism and those sort of things since people started to take the the wrong kind of foods or the wrong kind of medication, shall we say?
Their brains are starving.
And of course there's a lot of other poisons in the act. In order to what shall we say, save the planet, we seem to be poisoning it left, right, and centre with spraying things in the air, poisoning the water. We've got fumes from industrial production of stuff, and it's leaching into everywhere, which we're desperately trying to combat. And it doesn't help if we don't have a good solid foundation of a good diet, some exercise, and
Actually,
things like that.
cholesterol supports, and there are enzymes that the body makes to grab toxic minerals and take them out of the body.
Oh, does it?
Yes, they're hormones, metallohormones, and they're made out of cholesterol. So,
So there we
so
go.
we're shooting
Eat more
ourselves in
butter
the
with every
foot
meal.
if we, try to lower our cholesterol. Your body makes the amount of cholesterol it needs. Some people that needs a lot, and some people doesn't need so much. And by the way, your cholesterol level has nothing to do with your diet.
Right. Oh, doesn't it?
No, no. And even the early proponents of the cholesterol theory said that it has nothing to do with the diet. Yeah.
And they just turn it upside down. So just we were just going through your list of people. Was that the list of people you've got speaking at the event, Keli?
Yes, and myself and a friend, Freya Barry, will also be talking about the 5 R's of how to support the gut and improve gut health.
The 5 R's to how to do what? Sorry,
How to
support.
support gut health
Oh, the
and
gut.
improve gut
Yes.
health, yes, because
Right.
so many people, we've taken antibiotics, we've got a very stressful, hectic lifestyle. One of the main problems, as we've talked about, is blood sugars going up and down like a yo-yo. And so it just puts all our system out of balance. So yes, we've got a program to try and support people, especially with their digestion, because the digestion is like an engine. And if your digestion's not working, I think in Chinese medicine they call it the fire. If the fire is very low and not working very well, everything else slows down.
Yes. Like in a
There's
steam engine, if you haven't got the fire up to speed, you're not going to go anywhere, are you?
That's it. Yes, yeah. So there's lots of things people can do to support the digestion, the fire digestion, and lots of people have got a leaky gut, and so this means that they're taking undigested food particles into their system through the tiny little micro holes in the digestive lining, which are going into their bloodstream, and then they're feeling like they've got food sensitivities, they're feeling like they've been poisoned. And so, temporarily, while we heal the gut, sometimes we do need to remove foods that is causing digestive issues. And the classic one is gluten. Um,
Right.
it's such a difficult grain to digest.
I've
So
heard people say that we're eating too much, which I think is pretty true. That because it used to be 3 square meals a day and that sort of thing. I mean, I really only eat one main meal a day, and I might have a little bit of cheese and some raw milk, of course, throughout the day, and some nuts. Are nuts all right?
Well, nuts have toxins in them just like grains do. All plant foods have toxins.
Oh, right.
But we have a way of preparing nuts that reduces the toxins and actually makes them delicious. We soak them in salt water and then we drain and dehydrate them. And you know how when you eat a raw nut, you get that kind of feeling in your mouth, like
Yes.
a sort of sticky feeling, and that it completely takes care of that. And then nuts can be consumed as a food.
Oh, right. So I mean, obviously, if you're buying, say, salted peanuts, I mean, it's probably got the wrong salt on it. It's covered
Yeah.
in sunflower oil anyway, and who knows where the nuts have been procured from and how they've been grown, presumably. There's so many things to think about in food, and it's something that we do every day. We shovel stuff into our mouths
Without thinking about it. And
without
we
thinking
really
about it.
need to think about every morsel that goes into our
Yeah.
mouths. Well,
One.
I think Kelly can tell you, do you have the website and the
Do.
date?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So it's Saturday, the 17th of February.
So that's
And
quite soon.
yes, that's right. So just about 4 or 5 days' time. And it's going to be at Waterloo Action Centre, and it's on Eventbrite, which, you know, maybe you could put the link
Yes,
below
give me the
to
link. Send
Eventbrite.
it to me by WhatsApp or whatever, and I'll shove
Yeah,
it all in the thing.
that's it. And if people just search on Eventbrite for Western Aid Prize Foundation, they'll find it as well.
And is it a costly event?
£33.
There we go. And
Yes,
you'll come away with a whole life plan of
Yeah.
good
yes,
food and healthy
And
living.
Kelly's organized a lovely meal that
yes.
illustrates our principles. So
Oh,
That's it.
wow.
We've got a
yeah,
lovely meal.
it's a
Yeah,
very reasonable price for
yeah.
what we're
Organic,
doing.
nutrient-dense food. We have a top chef from one of the most prestigious health clubs in London. So she's cooking amazing nutrient-dense organic food for us, liver pate and sourdough bread, chicken ratatouille. So
Oh,
yeah, it's going to be
lovely.
absolutely delicious.
That
Raw
sounds
yogurt,
lovely.
raw
What time?
butter.
Oh, blind. I'm salivating. I'm salivating. I've got a chicken in the oven. I can't wait to eat it now. What time does it start? How long is the event?
So it starts at 9:30 and it
Right.
finishes at 4.
So it's a full day then of wonderful learning with what sounds like an amazing meal in the middle to enjoy and to get your chops round. It
That's
sounds
it.
fantastic.
And I
Well,
think these conferences are a great way to meet people because
yes, absolutely on a
we're on the
like-minded.
same wavelength. Can be very lonely if you're starting
Yes,
out on this kind of eating and nobody else around you. Everybody else thinks you're crazy.
yes.
It's a great way to meet people who think alike, think like you.
And then you can share detail because then you can share recipes. It's like I've got to eat this. I've got to eat this. How can I make it more interesting? Oh, you should do this. You should do. Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. It absolutely. I think so many of these things, people are beginning to meet like-minded people, and as you say, these type of events are absolutely brilliant for that. Well, I wish you well, ladies, at your event. I hope it goes well, and I hope some of the viewers here will check it out and come along. Do say hello to Keli and Sally if you have been come along. It'd be lovely to know if you have, and if not, on the website, presumably they can find out more information about what you do and how to get involved or learn from the foundation.
Well, it's westonaprice.org,
Western.
westonaprice.org.
I'll put the link
And
in
then
the description.
Kelly has her own website for her chapter.
Yeah.
We have over 400 chapters worldwide, and it's a
Wow.
great way to meet people, get help, support, moral support, whatever.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, I'll put all the links in the description and people can check that out. Thank you very much for coming on and telling us all about it. I will make sure I have butter now with every
Yes.
meal, which is good. I already do the sort of Celtic good quality salt, so that's the thing. But the fermented food is something I need to investigate more of.
We didn't talk much about that, but I will be mentioning that in my talk. Every single traditional culture had fermented food, such as sauerkraut. And now we know why. We have the scientific validation of this. We know we're supposed to have 6 pounds of good bacteria in our guts. And when you eat sauerkraut with your meal, you replenish that.
And that is for those that aren't familiar with it, it's cabbage, isn't it?
Yes, it's fermented cabbage that's raw.
Yes.
It's sour, but it really helps with digestion. I'm sure Kelly will be talking about this as well. So you'll
Oh,
learn
Yeah.
a lot at this conference. Your eyes will be opened. You may be very surprised but I think you'll also be comforted in how easy some of these solutions are. And we'll help you find these foods. There'll be people there who I think Kelly's going to have some sauerkraut there and
Oh,
sourdough
definitely,
bread, and
yes.
you'll
I have
find
sauerkraut,
out
yes.
where these foods are in London, and it just gets you on your way.
Superb. Are you doing any more of these? If people are, they just, oh, it's a bit late, can't get to this one. Are you going to be doing any more?
Yes, we'd love to do one in the autumn.
Brilliant. Well, let me know and we'll publicise it on the show and we'll get people in.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank
Brilliant.
you. Thanks
Well,
for having us.
thank you so much,
Mhm.
Sally and Kelly, for coming on and telling us about it. I hope it has opened the eyes and has got people inquisitive about, oh, that sounds good. I can eat butter and not feel guilty,
Yes,
which,
that's right.
that's the thing. We've been told, oh, you can't have this and you can't have that.
And
Well,
there's
maybe
nothing wrong with cooking in lard. It's a great cooking fat.
we have put a bit of lard on the chicken that's in
There
the
you
oven as we
go.
spoke. So there you go. So there we are, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you've got something out of that. I certainly have. I will be back with more monologues and more wonderful interviews. But for the moment, from Kelly and Sally, take care, look after yourself, eat well. Until next time, bye
Thank
bye.
you.